Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Find Your Model Health, the official podcast of Shemaine's Model Health for those looking to optimize their long-term health and weight goals and understand their body. I'm your host, I'm Shemaine Linney. I am a fitness and nutrition expert, biohacker, and certified iridologist. And I'm very happy to have you back with me for another episode. We are at episode 152. That is crazy. And I really hope you enjoy this episode. And I think many of you are going to find this super informative, especially if you like the whole holistic outlook on health and your body, and the concept of listening to your body, which I speak about a lot. So, before we go on, I must emphasize that the information in these podcasts is for informational purposes only and should be not taken as medical advice. Okay, so this week we're looking at your nails and what can your nails tell you? And we've all noticed, no doubt, over the years, ever since you were a child, if you're like me, you'll notice different markings will come up on your nails every now and then, especially if you happen to catch your finger in a door, which I think most young kids do. Anyway, so this week we're going to look at nails. I'm hoping next week we might look at the tongue. And then another episode, we will look at the eyes, more specifically the iris, which is my area of iridology. So we'll look at that. But this week, let's have a look at what your nails could be telling you about your health. I'm always saying this to my clients that if they stop and listen to their body, it will tell them what it likes and what it wants, and it'll do it in many different ways. And I try to do this myself a lot too, but sometimes life gets so noisy that it's hard, like now with the homeschooling and everything can be a fluster sometimes in life, and we forget to pay attention to what our body is saying. But recently I saw a white patch under the nail of my index finger, which I hadn't in years, in a very long time. And I thought, I should look into this and do some teaching about it, which is what we're doing now. We're looking at what our nails can tell us. So here we are. When we pay attention to all these little signals and signs our body gives us, they can direct us towards nutritional deficiencies, underlying health issues, and all sorts of things like that. This is especially important in our current time and environment where many of us are learning to be our own doctor and to take more responsibility for our own health. So this little tip and the tools in this episode you might find really, really helpful. So today I wanted to give you an overview about nail signs and what they can be telling you about your body and what may be going on. And it's really very interesting the way the body wants to tell us what's going on through signs on our nails, our tongue, our hair, skin, and even through our eyes, which again is one of the reasons I got certified as an iridologist, or someone who studies the iris. Our body wants to survive. It wants to be strong and healthy. That's why we continually build new cells and get rid of old, weak, or damaged cells. And as always, I am here to show you and teach you and encourage you on how to listen to and support your amazing body, because it really is amazing. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. There is always a way. Your body is stronger than you think. So let's take a look. There are many different natural practices you can use to support yourself on your healing journey. For some people, one works better than another, and that's okay, because we're also bio-individual. We're all so different that it's natural to take time to do some trial and error and see what works for your body. I have came across instances in my years of teaching where some people don't have patience, they don't have time, they don't understand it's trial and error, and those are the ones that generally don't do well, or that unfortunately we're not a good fit. Because if you want long-term success, you have to put in the time, the effort, the patience, and the faith, and believe that you will eventually get to where you want to be. So with all that, when we take the time and when we actually listen and pay attention to our body, we can move things on a bit faster and narrow things down a lot better. One of the ways we can do this is by paying attention to our nails. Every chipped, brittle, indented, and blackened nail has something to tell us. So when we look at healthy nails, healthy nails grow on average of 1 millimeter a week. And this can be useful for us to know. So we can see where a sign is on our nail and then determine how long ago our body was having an issue that caused that marking on our nail. So if we were to calculate how many millimeters, say, a white spot is from the base of our nails, it will give us an idea of how many weeks ago that spot was relevant, or when the issue started, or what may have caused it. So for the general population, nail health is most often an indicator of poor nutritional intake or poor digestion. Most nail issues usually don't indicate a serious underlying issue. So let's look at some of those signs or symptoms that we can see in our nails. The most common, I think, and what spurred this conversation is the white spot or the white patch we can see under our nails or in the nail bed. These usually indicate a zinc deficiency or calcium excess, or you could have just hurt your finger. So zinc will look like a very solid or defined white spot. You can also see a scattering of spots or several spots that will relate back to zinc. And then if it's more of a vague shape or blotch of a spot, we generally see that's connected to calcium. If it is a calcium excess or you hurt your finger, you will see the white spot will grow out with your nail, whereas a zinc spot can appear and disappear. So it'll just pop up and down as the deficiency appears and disappears. Mine was a calcium excess, for anyone who's curious. I didn't bash my nail, and it's definitely not a zinc deficiency, but I can see it growing out with the nail. Now, if we see the white spot is, say, 3 millimeters away from the base or the cuticle, we can think back and say, well, 3 weeks ago, social isolation and homeschooling started, so my nutrition was terrible and mostly just sugar and void of real nutrition. Then we can correlate and connect the dots, and you can see how this might be helpful. So if it's excess calcium, it could be like, oh, well, I was eating a tub of ice cream every day in the beginning of this, or I was constantly snacking on cheese with the stress of this whole pandemic. And then you can see, oh, okay, I can see where I may have then overconsumed dairy or calcium. Okay, so next would be furrowing or ridges or grooves in the nail that run horizontally. These lines are also known as Bowes line and can be just a natural occurrence with age in some people, not everyone, in some people, but in rare instances can signify something serious. So if you are concerned, be sure to talk to your doctor. So these ridges indicate where the nail stopped growing due to something that has stressed the nail out. So these are going horizontally. And this could be an illness, a major stress, physical or emotional, a big lifestyle change, a big immune hit, something like that that has thrown your body through a loop and stopped the nail from growing. Again, you can do the calculations and figure out a time frame where your body was under the stress and what happened. So if the ridge is 5 millimeters away from the cuticle, you can be like, okay, well, 5 weeks ago, this, and this happened. Okay, next is also quite common, and that is brittle nails. This we can connect back to digestion and also the thyroid. A sluggish thyroid can contribute to brittle, weak nails due to poor circulation and the inability to utilize nutrients properly. So what's happening in your digestion that's causing your body to not get enough nutrients and minerals to make strong, healthy nails? This is where we would look. So this might be an issue with low stomach acid, poor digestive enzymes, poor vagal nerve activity, so that's your vagus nerve, very important for digestion. You could be having gallbladder issues, IBD, or some sort of other gut issue. All of these will impact the breakdown and absorption of nutrients. So 2 nutrients that can be helpful here are calcium, I know sounds contradictory, but watch out for that white spot, and silica. So these are very important for strong nails. Some examples for calcium we'd be looking at, and I've obviously picked my favorites: almonds, sesame seeds, bone broth, buckwheat and green veg. And for silica, we look to oats, organic and gluten-free, of course, melons, cucumbers, artichoke, asparagus, dandelion, and again, our green vegetables are great for silica. But also, consistently wetting and drying your hands can attribute to brittle nails too. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, now back to those ridges. When we see the ridges run from the base, so where the nail comes out under the skin or the cuticle, to the top, so vertical ridges, we're looking at low digestive enzymes generally. So again, something that's stopping the nail from getting nutrients properly from the gut. Vertical ridges generally appear later in life, and these are a lot more common. These can be attributed to just aging and the changes in the gut as we age. And as long as they're not accompanied by other symptoms such as changes in color, they're usually nothing to be concerned about at all. We would just go back and look at the gut and nutrition. Vertical ridges can also be connected to poor circulation and oxygenation to the nail bed. So we might look at anemia here. Carpal tunnel could be present if you're seeing the ridges are only present on 1 or 2 nails, and maybe you experience carpal tunnel. You could connect that back to nerve issues down through those 2 fingers. So that's something to think about as well. Now, if your nail spoons or becomes concave, we can usually connect this to an iron deficiency. You can also compare this to your energy levels, how well wounds heal, and also your menstruation. So if you have very heavy menstruation and you experience a lot of fatigue, there could be an iron deficiency present. So look into food first to address the issue before supplements is always going to be my first port of call. And then remember that iron is best absorbed in the presence of vitamin C. And then as a side note to that, vitamin C is best absorbed in the presence of fat. Okay. Then the clubbing or a raised nail, something that looks like a gecko's foot, where the nail is elevated, round more and popping out. This can show us again poor circulation and oxygen to the nail cells. So this could be respiratory conditions, how well oxygen is being carried into the blood and being used in the cells. Here we could use magnesium, especially elemental magnesium, and of course my favorite, molecular hydrogen, which is the most bioavailable source of elemental magnesium to support cellular health. Mineral water is great here too, and also making sure we're moving a lot daily, especially outdoors and in the sunshine, just to make sure that we're getting enough oxygen transported through the tissues. Another sign in the nails will be beaking or curving of the nail, and I've seen some professionals call it parrot beak on the nails. This is where the fingernail curls over the top like a bird's beak. I have a picture of this on my website on the blog post that goes hand in hand with this, what your nails can tell you, so go check it out if you want to look at the picture. But this can show us a potassium deficiency. Also, hyperthyroidism, renal failure, psoriasis, and systemic sclerosis should be considered here. So if it's excessively bad and you're sure you don't have potassium issues, you may want to consult a health professional. Next, when we look at the color of the nail, so the colors can say a lot too, not just these markings or shapes. A yellow nail may tell us that there is an infection present or reaction to a product you are using on the hands and nails. Or also the nail has received some sort of trauma. So a yellow nail can tell you quite a lot. And this can go for blackened nails or black spots or splinters in the nail bed too. So what look like little sharp lines or little splinters in the nail. If you've ever caught your finger in a door and got a blackened or bruised nail, then you know what I'm talking about there. But this black appearance is a result of blood vessel inflammation under the nail and will disappear as the nail and finger heals. The splinter appearance, though, can signify poor circulation and weaker blood vessels or blood vessel damage. So keep an eye on that. You might want to keep an eye on how cold maybe your appendages get and stuff like that. Now, if we see opaque or frosted or pale yellow, so not a strong yellow, a pale yellow color on the nails, we may see liver dysfunction or the liver is having issues. Here we would bring in liver support like dandelion, milk thistle, and even burdock root. For the kidneys, we might see a red tip at the cuticle. So some redness at the cuticle. This is where the capillaries in the body might be struggling. You might see even a pale ring under the nail or on the skin at the top of the nail too. That could show the kidneys might be struggling and need a bit of support. Now, if you see lots of pinholes or small indentations in the nail, this can be connected back to psoriasis and inflammation. Again, we look back at the gut first here. And of course, if it is skin issues, you will see an improvement in the nails if you take care of the skin issues. So ridges and lines can also be connected to psoriasis too. When we look for those half moons or crescents by the cuticle of the nail and there is none visible, this is generally connected to a B12 deficiency. So if you don't have those white half moons up by your cuticle in the nail bed, then we're looking towards a B12 deficiency. That does not mean go take a B12 supplement. That means look at your nutrition and look at your gut. Have you maybe recently taken antibiotics that could have killed off the bacteria that make B12 in your gut? But this can also be connected to poor circulation and blood flow. And we can also check capillary return by pressing down on the nail. The nail bed should be nice and pink when you don't push down on the nail. And when you do push down, you're basically pushing the blood away. And this makes the nail, and I know lots of people are probably doing this now while listening. I know I'm doing it. When you push the blood away, this makes the nail bed go white. And when you take your finger away, you should see that the pink instantly comes back pretty fast. If it takes a while to come back, you probably have poor capillary return, which means you may have low blood volume or poor circulation and poor blood flow out into the appendages. Okay, so next If we see regular infections around the nail, like fungal infections, we look towards to the gut and the immune system. In this case, where there are recurring infections, as we look at the gut and the immune system, we can also be using some topical applications like colloidal silver, coconut oil, essential oils, and where the issue is severe, you can use topical antifungals or antibiotics. But we really want to be looking at supporting the immune system here and eradicating any overgrowths or imbalances that may be happening. My new immune support guide or immune booster guide would be great to help you here, because it will help you address any concerns with the immune system, but also rebalance any bacteria issues or fungal issues that may be happening too. Now, you can see a lot of these nail signs that I've just discussed can be intertwined, and many of them can be a symbol of many of the same issues or underlying concerns. But this just further reinforces the fact that the body is one system and should be treated and cared for as a whole. As always, I hope you found the information helpful, and please share with anyone you feel may benefit. Sharing is caring, but it also helps this information reach the masses and empower people to be responsible for their own health. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you really enjoyed this episode of the Find Your Model Health podcast, and I will talk to you guys again soon. So take care. Bye-bye.